Welcome back. My name is George. My ham radio call sign is EI7 Kilo Oscar, and continuing on here with my series of videos on the audio gear. So we'll talk about the BM800 microphone in this video. These microphones, my apologies, are very cheap, and they lend themselves very well to doing what we do on amateur radio. Now, they are a condenser microphone, so they are quite sensitive and can pick up any additional noise that's in the background of your shack. So just to be aware of that. You can use a dynamic microphone, like a Heil 781 or something like that. But you know, to get the best out of one of them, you really need to have kind of a really good preamp. You know, you'll see a lot of people complaining about Heil microphones and other dynamic microphones that they plug them into the radio and they have to turn the mic gain up to 100%. That's because a dynamic microphone, unlike an electret or a condenser microphone, which is powered, okay, the element in this is powered, so it's amplified before it gets to the radio. Okay, a dynamic microphone doesn't do that. It takes the vibration of the sound level coming into it and converts it into electrical energy, but it's very small. So to get that up to a level that the radio is going to be happy with, you need a preamp to do that. So that brings me on to the next thing. With these require a 48 volt phantom power supply, which in my case here is fed by the mixer. You can see the 48 volt light is on there and the phantom button is pressed in. Now, you can run these from the mic jack on the front of the radio. I think it's 8 volts or whatever on the pin, and it will provide enough power for the microphone to work. But here's the thing. So a lot of people will tell you, oh, you don't need a mixer, you don't need phantom power, the radio will run it fine. It will work, but the problem is that the amplifier circuitry in this microphone is designed to work at 48 volts. So if you feed it with 8 volts, while it will work, two things are going to happen. One, the dynamic range of the microphone is going to be reduced for a start, so it's not going to be able to produce the full range that you need. Okay, the second thing that's going to happen is you are increasing the internal noise in the microphone, because it's designed to work on 48 volts to be the quietest it can. So when you're reducing that voltage down, you're increasing the noise in the microphone. Now, there are modifications you can do to this microphone that it'll have a very low internal noise level, operating down to like 3 volts of phantom power, but it's quite involved and a bit invasive, you know, and if you're just starting out, you're not going to be wanting to do that. So how do we interface the microphone to the radio then? So if we take the microphone here feeding into the mixer, and we'll have our audio coming out of the mixer then. What's going to happen here, because you're feeding it the plus 48 volts of phantom power, the level of audio coming out of here is going to be way too high for the radio to handle. So how do we get around that cheaply? Okay, you can go off and you can buy a W2 IHY iBox or one of those gadgets. Like, these things aren't cheap, you know, they're a couple of £100, and that gives you like variable, gives you a variable level on the mic or the audio output. Now, that's complete rubbish, because you either have mic level or you have line level. There's no in between. So I you know, that's kind of, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But however, so how I got around it was, I bought a DI box. I'll put a card up here to a different video I done explaining how that works. So I'll put a card up there. You can go off and watch that. So basically what this one does, it's a DI G100, I think. It's the red one that Behringer do. and it has two transformers in there on the input and the output, and you have your little PCB in there as well, and you have a couple of buttons on the end, and blah 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 blah. So basically what happens is you have audio coming in here that's too loud for the radio to handle. There are two little buttons on the side, pad, -20 and -20, and if you hit one of them, the radio will be perfectly happy with the level of audio it's seeing coming out this side. But what this thing is designed to do, it is designed for not what we're using it for. It's designed for plugging the likes of an unbalanced instrument, a guitar, a bass, a keyboard, straight into a mixing console. So what it does, it converts an unbalanced signal to a fully balanced signal, okay, which is no good. It has the balun in it to do that. So what you do is you end up going into the input, so you're fully balanced from here to here into the mixer, and you're fully balanced coming out of the mixer as far as the DI box, okay. So what you need to do is you need to unbalance it here. Right, so what happens in the DI box and how it works is that the unbalanced signal goes in, and it goes through all the didgeridoos and the doohickeys and the gizmos, and it comes out this side balanced, okay. So what you end up having to do is you need to unbalance it here again. So on this side it's an XLR. So as I was saying there, it comes out of the DI box fully balanced, okay. So we need to unbalance that again. So if we have a look at this here, this is what you'll be looking at, okay. And you have 3 pins. So for unbalanced use, pin 1 and pin 3 have to be bridged together. So those two are connected together. So how can you do that? You can just connect your 2 wires to pin 3, and then a short little wire or metal piece of copper, tail off a resistor, anything, just to link those 2 pins together, and that will unbalance your signal coming out. Now you can go in the front, if the camera will focus. You can go in the front mic jack using the mic input and the mic ground, or in that case, either way you do this, if you're going using a studio mic, you're going to end up having to make a provision for PTT as well. So you can do that on the front socket as well, or you can go in the back in through the accessory socket. That's the way I've got it done. I built a little interface for that. I'll put a card here for that, and that just leaves it that no big plug sticking out the front of the radio, and it's nice and neat. So once you have that much done, that will be enough to get you to the stage where your condenser mic will happily work with the radio without you having to have the microphone gain if you're going in through the front. The microphone gain on the 7300 sky high, and also the same if you're going in through the back. You won't have to have the ACC mic input sky high either, because this thing provides a small level of amplification that will be plenty enough for the radio to happily look at. So that's kind of the best way, I think, to configure it. And this thing has 2 transformers in it, as I mentioned. There's one in the input, one in the output, so it's galvanically isolated. You know, there's no physical connection, but the audio still passes through. So that's good, because if any RF is going to get in here or here or even here in this cable, it won't come out this side. So that's good, you know. So that's pretty much that, and that's how I would recommend anyone to configure it. It's the right way from an audio engineering point of view, I think. to do it, because everything is connected up properly. The microphone is getting the correct voltage to produce its dynamic range, and the audio level coming out is going to be right, and you can knock it down with this lad to a level that the radio is going to be happy with. In my case here, I've just one of the 20 dB buttons pressed in, and I see hardly any deflection on the ALC meter when I'm talking. That's the way I stick to what they say in the manual. So when I'm speaking, you might see a couple of bars, and then the odd time it'll peak up to about maybe here. It doesn't go any higher than that. So that's the way I've got it done, and it works fine. So you know, you have to be able to kind of make yourself a couple of leads. You know, you're going to be going from XLR to XLR. Like the lead that comes with this microphone when you buy it, just take it out of the box and cut the XLR plug off it and throw the rest of it in the bin, because that's the only good place for it. It's complete rubbish. So you'll end up making a lead from here to here, then you'll end up making a 1/4 inch lead to go from that into the, then you'll end up making an XLR to probably an RCA type connection to go into the back of the radio, or if you're going to go in through the front, you'll be going into an 8-pin microphone jack. So you know, that's how you kind of configure it together. Sorry for the messy drawing, but that is one question I get asked a lot when people email me. It's you know, how do I connect the radio to the mixer? And you know, a lot of people are telling them, oh, you can do it and power the microphone from the radio. Yes, you can, right? I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because I've heard lots of guys doing it, but it's not the right way, because of the reasons that I mentioned. So if I was recommending to anybody doing it from scratch, that's pretty much how you do it. Like the DI box, I think I paid 30 quid or something like that for it, and for the peace of mind that it's totally isolated and the whole lot, it's really worth it. So hello, Mr. Fly. So there you are. So that's that video covered, doing the microphone and the mixer and how to connect it to the radio. In the next video we'll probably start talking about the various different units here, and the full in and outs of what they do. So thanks for watching this video. Sorry it's a bit long, but it takes a while to explain this stuff, and if you have any questions, send them there, and we'll get you again in the next video. This is George, EI7 Kilo Oscar. Bye bye.